Hello, my name is Michael Wittgraf, and I'm a Chester Fritz Distinguished Professor of Music at the University of North Dakota. I am from a small town called Paynesville, Minnesota, from a long time ago. So at the University of North Dakota, I teach composition and bassoon and music theory. So I have actually two studios, one in the composition area and one in the bassoon area. As a composer, geez, ever since I was a little kid, my dad had a huge collection of classical music records, and I had him teach me how to work the record player. Yes, indeed, the record player. So it'd been back in the 60s. So I could play the records and be the little 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old kid who would sit there in the living room and conduct the records, put on a Beethoven symphony and conduct the records and run around the room. That was me as a little kid. And as I got older, in high school and middle school, I started composing. In fact, I kind of only paid attention to composers back in the day. I would go to a classical music concert with my folks, and everybody would clap at the end of a piece of music, and I just assumed everybody, including me, was clapping for the composer, even though they had probably been dead for 150 years. That also is who I am. It wasn't until later in college that I figured out, oh, maybe I should clap for the performers too. Who knew? My undergraduate alma mater is Carleton College, which is just south of the Twin Cities. And my degree from there, which I got in 1985, was actually in mathematics. I did spend a lot of time in the music department there, though. Probably more time in the music department than in the math department. Probably more time in the music department than I should have. After Carleton, I spent about 4 or 5 years being in various rock bands in the Twin Cities area. But music called me, and I enrolled in the University of Minnesota to get some undergraduate music credits so I could actually apply for grad school in music. And I wound up getting my master's degree in music composition from the University of Minnesota and my doctorate in music composition from Northwestern University in Chicago. I'm a big fan of lifelong learning. In fact, it seems like every few years I get the yearning to learn something new. For example, when I was in high school, or actually middle school, I take that back. My dad was my band director and he needed bassoonists in high school. And he handed me a bassoon and a book and said, learn it. So I did. That was back in 7th or 8th grade. Then of course I switched from math to music between my undergraduate and my graduate degree. And well into my career here at UND, I would say about 19, or not 19, when I got here in 1998, about 9 years later, 2007, I decided to immerse myself in electronic music, which is where I am right now. I do almost all of my composing on computer, whether it's beat production, or experimental electronics, or live electronics. That's mostly what I do now. And lately, I've taken it upon myself to learn jazz piano. I had already developed rock piano and rock electric bass chops from my rock and roll days, but I have always had a dream to be able to play jazz, and I finally sat down and did it. Took me a while, you gotta practice, but even at my age, which is something, it's possible to learn, and I continue to learn, and I intend to continue to learn. So my composition studio has a bunch of students in it, and we work in a variety of styles. I kind of like to figure out what each student wants. Does a student want to go on to grad school in composition? Are they interested in producing beats? Are they interested in writing jazz? I can handle a lot of styles, and I like for students to explore what they like. Sometimes it's good for a student to be kind of steered in a direction outside of their comfort zone because it widens our ears. And again, lifelong learning. There we go. So, and we've had opportunities, we perform on campus a couple times a year, if not more. And when the opportunity presents itself out in the Grand Forks community, I like to bring a nice big sound system and hook up our computers and do beats, have a show for the wider public in Grand Forks. It's really fun. I love it when I get enough students to do that, so I'd love for anybody to join me. In my bassoon studio, tends to be kind of small because bassoonists are rare. We're a rare breed, but I like to think it's because we're better. And I love the bassoon. You know, like I said, my dad made me learn it in 7th and 8th grade, and I really took to it in a hurry. I love it. I love dealing with reeds. I love the oddity of the instrument. You know, it's kind of shaped weird. It's got odd fingerings. It's got a beautiful tone, I think. It's instantly recognizable. It's filled with character, just like me and all my students. Definitely you join a bassoon studio and you will be in demand because everything needs a bassoon and very few people play the bassoon. So that's what we do at UND Bassoon Studio. There are quite a number of opportunities to play the bassoon in town here in Grand Forks. I myself play in the local symphony, the Greater Grand Forks Symphony Orchestra. There's definitely chamber music opportunities. There's the bands at UND, the University Band and the Wind Ensemble. I've played in both of those in the past. Obviously students play in those. Lots of opportunities to play. In fact, there are scholarships available at UND. They can be based on performance or participation, and you can call the office for more opportunities and information on that. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you at UND someday. You can contact me at my email, michael.wittgraf@und.edu, and you can also check out my music at michaelwittgraf.com.